The CNN studio buzzed like a loaded wire. You could feel it in the floorboards, in the way the audience murmured with anticipation. This wasn't going to be a town hall. This was going to be a showdown. Kash Patel was already on stage, grinning like a man who'd memorized his own myth. He straightened his gray suit and leaned into the microphone. Let's not pretend Congresswoman Crockett understands the difference between oversight and obstruction, he said. She tweets. She grandstands. She talks. But she doesn't understand national security. Laughter and claps rippled through the conservative half of the room. On the other side, uncomfortable shifting. Behind the curtain, Jasmine Crockett stood still. No pacing. No deep breaths. Just her hand resting on a black binder and her eyes locked on the screen showing Patel's face. She wasn't angry. She was calculating. Patel leaned back in his chair. Congress deserves real leadership, not social media soundbites. And then Wallace's voice cut through. Please welcome Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. She stepped onto the stage. No theatrics. No fake wave. Just a quiet, deliberate walk to the table. The room hushed. Thank you for having me, she said, calmly setting the binder down. Patel smirked. Let's hope we can keep things grounded in reality tonight. Crockett didn't look at him. She opened her binder. This, she said, holding up a printed memo, is a Department of Defense document dated February 2021. It outlines surveillance extensions made without congressional notification. Signed by Mr. Patel. Patel scoffed. We were dealing with a time-sensitive threat. That's not a violation. That's leadership. Crockett smiled faintly. Interesting, she said, flipping a page. Because the same day you signed that, your deputy received an email saying, and I quote, there is no immediate threat requiring bypass of standard clearance protocol. The crowd murmured. Patel straightened in his seat. That email was from Deputy Director Hobbs, she added. Your office responded 2 hours later with just 2 words. Do it. Gasps. Phone's out. Wallace leaned forward. Mr. Patel, is that accurate? He waved it off. Out of context. That's how real-time decision-making works. Crockett didn't blink. You didn't make a real-time decision, she said. You made a political one. And now, you're calling it patriotism. Wallace turned to the camera. We'll return after the break to discuss more. The lights faded. But everyone in the room already knew the break didn't matter. The game had changed. When the cameras came back on, everything had shifted. Kash Patel no longer looked smug. He looked tight, tense. And the audience? They smelled blood. A middle-aged woman stood up with the mic. Mr. Patel, she said, why should we trust you with our security if you cut corners just because it's convenient? Patel's jaw twitched. Because threats don't wait for red tape. I made judgment calls. They worked. Worked for who? The woman shot back. Crockett leaned into her mic. She's asking the right question. Next up was a veteran. I served in Iraq, he said. I followed protocol. If I didn't, people died. Are you saying your decisions matter more than ours? Patel stumbled. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying leadership sometimes requires cutting congressional briefings out of the loop until things cool down. The veteran interrupted. Boom. The quote. The one from Crockett's folder. She slid the yellow folder open. Page 9. The quote was there in black ink. Wallace turned to Patel. Did you say that? It's political theater. Crockett. It's a transcript. Public record. And this man thinks he's above the Constitution. At that moment, the audience flipped. Patel wasn't just flailing. He was bleeding. Then came Shelby Reyes. Former Navy. Whistleblower. I was there, she said under oath before Congress. He bypassed protocol. I objected. I was silenced. Then reassigned. Was the quote accurate? Crockett asked. Yes. Did he retaliate? Yes. Why didn't you speak up then? Reyes paused. Because I was scared. But I'm not anymore. The chamber fell still. Patel went on Megyn Kelly that night. Claimed it was all fake. Threatened lawsuits. Claimed Crockett was a political stunt artist. Then he did it. He filed a defamation suit against both Crockett and Reyes. The headlines flew. Patel fights back. Lawsuit filed. Oversight versus obstruction. Who's telling the truth? And then Crockett dropped her reply. One line. We welcome all investigations. We have nothing to hide. Attached? Not just proof the documents were public, but a notarized certification from the Office of the General Counsel. The internet lit up. Patel had played the wrong game. The next week, Kash Patel quietly withdrew the lawsuit. No press, no spin, just a legal filing, withdrawn with prejudice, meaning he couldn't file it again. It was over. And yet, it had just begun. The Department of Justice announced a review panel to examine December 2020 briefings. Patel's security clearance was suspended, then revoked. Republicans distanced themselves. Patel's media invites stopped. Conservative think tanks quietly removed his bio from their sites. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett returned to Texas. A local town hall. No cameras, just voters. An elderly woman stood up and said, "I watched you. You didn't yell. You didn't play dirty. You just brought the truth. Thank you." Crockett smiled, hands folded. "I brought folders. You brought belief." Then came the final blow. CNN announced a new series. The Reckoning Room. The pilot? The Crockett Doctrine. Crockett sat in the promo clip, lit softly. One line. Truth doesn't need volume. It needs receipts. Somewhere in a DC office, Patel watched the clip from his phone. He closed it. No comment. The story was no longer his. It belonged to her. And to the millions who now understood. You don't need to scream to be heard. You just need to come prepared.